Alabama 42, LSU 13. What in the world was that? A blood spattering in Death Valley. You know what? I'll be honest, man. I should have seen this coming. I had a preseason bet on Alabama. I did win $100 betting Alabama spread on this game. I'm going to be honest with you. My logic was incorrect, though, because I thought this game was going to be close. Regardless of what the model had, I told myself, no one comes into Death Valley and wins. Look what happens. I bet Ole Miss against LSU in Death Valley. I learned my lesson. I should have seen this coming, because there is a glaring hole that LSU has in their personnel. Glaring. And I overlooked it. And I'm going to tell you what it is. Lenore Sellers versus LSU. 10 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marcel Reed against LSU. 9 carries, 62 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe last Saturday. 12 carries, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. None of those 3 players that I listed played the full game. These 3 mobile quarterbacks in 8 quarters of football had 31 carries for 335 yards, 10.8 yards per carry, and 9 rushing touchdowns. Just the quarterbacks in 8 quarters of football. And those 3 teams, by the way, against LSU, combined 138 carries, 796 yards in those. 796 yards in those 3 games. 5.8 per carry. Alabama had less completions than LSU did points. It didn't matter. They didn't even need to throw. Because all of a sudden, like Sellers, Milroe, and Reed in those 3 games. And I'm counting this South Carolina game because even though LSU won it, you have to factor in that Lenore Sellers got hurt in the first half and Carolina didn't even punt in the first half when they were playing LSU in that game. Lenore Sellers, 9 completions. Milroe, 12. Marcel Reed, 2. 23 combined completions in those 3 games from those quarterbacks. None of them even needed to throw. So my question is what is going on with LSU when they play a mobile quarterback? Because one time could be a fluke. 2 times, okay, we're thinking of something. 3 times, and it's not just the fact that they got outdueled. They got obliterated by this. Like, the amount of lanes that Jalen Milroe had to run through was unbelievable. He would go untouched and just outrun the safety completely at the second level, and bam, gone. And on the other side of this, you have to look at LSU, and I have it right here, against Alabama, 47 carries, 128 yards, 2.7 yards per carry. Okay? Take out the long 45-yard run by Caleb Durham. They're at 45 carries for 59 yards. By the way, I should say, that's a combined performance versus Texas A&M and versus Alabama. So against Texas A&M and against Alabama, the 2 games that LSU lost in conference, has 2.7 yards per carry. 2.7. So you have to ask yourself, LSU clearly doesn't have the guys in the trenches right now that are opening up holes. LSU doesn't have the guys in the trenches that are able to stop the run. And LSU got a little lucky, too, because they avoided possibly the 3 most physical teams in the SEC. Possibly. This is subjective here. But Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. Those are potentially the 3 best defenses in the SEC. Avoided all 3 of them. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. This has to be a little embarrassing. Like, if you're an LSU fan, this has to be embarrassing. Alabama, your bitter rival, went in your house and kicked your freaking backside. They didn't give you a chance to win. And when they were down, they kicked. And when you were even more down, they kicked you again and again and again and again. Because LSU, you've got to look around and see what South Carolina has in the trenches. Like, South Carolina, the supposed, honestly, just by the social stigma, I'm not saying they are objectively this, but by the social status of them, a mid-tier SEC program. You look at them and saying, dang, they're kicking butt in the trenches. Vanderbilt, hey, look what they did to Alabama's running game. And even the top end of the teams, like Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, like I mentioned, LSU has to look around and saying, what the heck is going on? Because what they're giving up in their house against Alabama, A&M, South Carolina on the road, they got obliterated on the inside. And that has to sting if you're an LSU fan. If you're Alabama, I mean, this game had everything you could have ever wanted. I mean, this is a PEG, playoff elimination game, night game in Death Valley, man. Alabama showed up. Jalen Milroe, I should have seen it because this was a perfect matchup for Alabama. When Alabama played Tennessee, per se, when the games that they lost, I'm going to use the Tennessee game for example. Tennessee is an incredibly physical team. I mean, you see Tennessee and you think, oh, Josh Heupel, this elite, pass-thriving offense, quick tempo, yada, yada, yada. No, they're this gritty, physical defensive team. And Alabama went against Tennessee, and their front seven completely stifled them. Jalen Milroe, I think, averaged under a yard per carry because they simply had the speedy linebackers to keep him in the pocket. LSU does not have those speedy linebackers to keep Jalen Milroe in the pocket, as we clearly and so evidently saw on Saturday night in Death Valley. Let's face it. I mean, I feel for LSU fans, man. I mean, I do. Because it's hard to lose have your bitter rival come in your house and stomp you like they did. 7 o'clock on ABC, that's hard. But if you're LSU, I'm gonna provide y'all some positive things here. If you're an LSU fan, look, you lost a Heisman winner because you're 9-3. And your best case scenario is 9-3. You have a loss to USC. Being realistic here, probably out of the conversation. I don't want to say you are. I'm going to say it's probable that you're sitting on the outside looking in. You lost a Heisman winner. You lost 2 first-round receivers. Your starting running back got hurt. You have a new defensive coordinator. Coming in, the logical LSU fan probably should have known that this was a rebuilding year. In the Triple H model, they are the 127th most experienced team. 127th. This is a really inexperienced group of guys that LSU has. So you tell yourself, and you're looking at your roster and saying, okay, a lot of guys come back. Blake Baker's going to be in year 2. Look, even though it's not going too well this year, potentially, you got a lot coming back. You've got a lot to look forward to. This one stings. I'm just trying to provide y'all some positives since I just dunked on what's going on in the offensive line and the defensive line with LSU. And that is what it is.